Hello, I am Agajo. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we revisit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. 2020 general election, preparedness and error corrections are to be done. Restriction on pagodas and religious structures extended. Domestic tourism seen with gradual increase of travelers in some parts of Bagan. Yangon Stock Exchange Expo 2020 to be held in September. And Hong Kong's Special Administrative Region opened its first COVID-19 temporary hospital. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at what's the local news from this week. Union Election Commission, Ministerial Office of Union Government, Ministry of International Cooperation, Ministry of Transport and Communications, and the Ministry of Health and Sports held a coordination meeting in Naypyidaw. The chairman of Union Election Commission said that the purpose of the meeting was to facilitate the smooth running of the election process to hold the 2020 general election successfully. He also said that firstly, it was for advance voting of Myanmar citizens living abroad that the date to take out Form 15 and dates to receive the forms are announced. That the sending of Form 15, reviewed forms and ballot papers between Myanmar missions, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Commission will be carried out by relief flight. Myanmar rice export through sea trade generated an estimated income of $581.6 million as of 17th of July in the current financial year, and the figures reflect an increase of $181.4 million compared with the year-ago period, as per data from Myanmar Rice Federation. Myanmar maritime trade constituted over 85% of the rice exports. Earlier, border trade was relatively high compared to sea trade in terms of the rice exports. Since the previous financial year, border trade has dropped and currently it accounts for just 14.8% of the total rice exports. The low demand of India brought down the black bean prices in the domestic market, according to the Myanmar Pulses Beans and Sesame Seeds Merchant Association. The prices of the black bean are pegged at around 970,000 per ton in mid-July. The price plunged to 950,000 chats per ton in early August, according to the data of the Bagan market. India rapidly changed the import period to 3 months by August end 2020 from the earlier set deadline of March 2021 as per their official notice. With the changes in India's policy on bean importation, Myanmar still falls short of the target. The growers have already sold out the beans and they're in the hands of traders. And I believe it's time now for our first report. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi at a video conferencing had discussions about preparedness and current situations for 2020 general election. It is mentioned that the errors found in the already released voter list are to be reviewed and corrected, and the responsible organizations are considering a lot about the health safety as well. Dora Suizin has more.
State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi hosted a regular video conferencing on Wednesday, during which the necessary procedures and challenges for 2020 general election were mentioned. The participants were U Thein Sui, Union Minister for Labour, Immigration and Population, U Myin Nai, Member of Union Election Commission, and U Ta Aw, Deputy Director General of General Administration Department. The 2020 general election is to be held in November, and the voters' list have already been released from 25th of July to 7th of August. However, the complaints were lodged by the citizens concerning the errors found in the list. Concerning this issue, State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi asked the authorized persons the reasons and current situations.
For ensuring the citizens to be able to vote, it is necessary to have the correct voters list. I have heard that there are many errors in the voters list released during these 2 weeks. Every citizen who is over 18 years old has the right to vote. This is not just the right, this is the responsibility of the citizens. To be able to do so, the responsible organizations have to cooperate and assist.
The voters' counting system is based on ground-level enumeration instead of household list. In doing so, errors were found, such as being left out from the list, wrong personal data, and non-rightful persons included in the list.
This is the first time of releasing the voters list, and based on the errors and feedback of the citizens, we are to release more accurate list in October. We have organized responsible working groups to review the list, to perform field study, and to provide service for the citizens. Errors we have here are because of the weakness of staff filling the data manually and technically. We are to review and correct them.
According to the Union Election Commission, about 6.6 million people have come and checked the voters' list. For the health safety issues, the people coming to the polling stations must stay at a distance of 6 feet apart, and the gloves and hand sanitizers will be provided. Regarding these preparedness, the state councillor added the comment that whether the gloves can disturb in stamping on ballots, and to consider the time slot of polling since it will take longer because of social distancing.
We, the General Administration Department, are serving as the member in Union Election Commission and Subcommission at state, region, township, and ward levels in order to organize 2020 general elections successfully. For any problems with the voter list or election procedures, the citizen can contact with the staff of General Administration Office, and we are willing to assist them.
The state councillor said that the General Administration Department plays an important role in the election procedures, and it has to try to win the trust of the citizens.
The Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, Union Election Commission, and the General Administration Department are responsible for producing accurate voters' lists and to keep the citizens safe on the day of voting. We have to successfully and safely organize the general election, despite it is the period of COVID-19 outbreak, for the right and duty of our citizens and the image of our country. We want to prove that our citizens are responsible, disciplined, and loyal to the country.
From 2016 to July of 2020, 5.72 million national registration cards were issued out. A total of 143,962 overseas returnees have arrived back in the country, and the Union Minister for Labour, Immigration and Population said that they are handling the overseas returnees to be able to vote. Myanmar citizens in the foreign countries can contact the embassies, according to the Union Minister. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on 2020 general election, preparedness, and error corrections to be done. Due to the worrisome issues of the second wave of COVID-19, the restrictions on pagodas and religious structures has been extended under the guidelines of the Ministry of Health and Sports and the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Culture. David Tena got the details.
As unfortunate events of COVID-19 are occurring as pandemic all over the world, pagodas and other religious sites in Myanmar have been temporarily closed starting from 9th of April until the present time. For the purpose of protecting and taking precautionary measures against the pandemic, even though it has been faintly stated that there will be ease restrictions for pagodas to reopen around the end of July, the restricted period for the pagodas and religious sites has been extended until the 15th of August. With that said, Uttanai U, patron of Sule Pagoda Board of Trustees, told MI Radio regarding the circumstances.
We have been following the guidelines of Ministry of Religious Affairs and Culture as well as health regulations from Ministry of Health and Sports. Even though there has been some news that most of the pagodas in Yangon will be reopening again at the end of July, In my perspective, as there has been this worrisome situation of the COVID-19 second wave around the world, the idea has been reconsidered again and the restrictions have been extended. To summarize, I think the extension is to make sure the likelihood of the crowding not to form and become a risk factor for the next wave of COVID-19, in my opinion.
I have also asked a citizen's opinion on Pagoda's extension of temporary closure.
My name is
Nuno Luen. When it comes to closing the pagodas and other religious places, I don't feel good about it as a religious person. But these restrictions are done to prevent the spread of COVID-19 for the good of the public. I have nothing to complain about it. For me, we heard that the pagodas will be open from 30th July, so we came here just to go to the Shuidagong Pagoda. But it is not open today, so what can we do? We are returning back to the village. Every year in this time, we usually go on pilgrimage, meditating and doing charitable work, but none of those can be done for this year. But as religious sites have been closed, I will perform religious duty at home by listening to the sermon from TV. So this is how I will go on.
U Tanai U also added on more regarding the preparation of reopening of pagodas.
For the inner part of Suli Pagoda, and I guess for some other pagodas as well, it has already been facilitated and equipped with tools such as temperature scanners, caution signboard regarding COVID-19, as well as the guidelines from Ministry of Health and Sports. We have also fully educated the pagoda's volunteers and workers to follow the guidelines. So we will also have to limit the visitors to about 200 visitors at the pagoda. Visitors may have to wait before going inside the pagoda until the limit has reached. We are really cautious about the second wave of infection and are really aware of that. Health guidelines and protections are priority for now.
U Tuntun U, chairman of Yangon Region Social Welfare Organization YRO, has also stated his perspective on the situation of current extension of restrictions for reopening of pagodas.
I'm very optimistic about the extension of restriction period for pagodas to reopen. Because as we all know, even if we prepare for the best and make sure to have social distancing, to be frank, it is inevitable that some people will still be taking no notice of those factors. As pagodas and other public places are accessible to everyone to visit, it is inevitable that they become a risk area for forming crowds. That is why I feel like it is a good reason for the sense of health and precautionary measures to extend the restriction period.
Reporter David Tanner reporting from Myanmar International Radio.
That's a report on restriction on pagodas and religious structures extended. Tourism sites have been shut down in Myanmar since late March due to the global pandemic. Every business that has to depend on tourism destinations is experiencing losses in their incomes as there are no visitors to the areas. People seem to start to be familiar with the new normal lifestyle by following the health guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. The reopening of the local tourism sites are also in operation to recover their tourism industry with local travelers by relaxing some restrictions. Social distancing plans and other health guidelines are applied to reopen sites, and that way, local travelers can make visit to places with safety and pleasure. Soyitana and Dora Wimbizo have more.
Tourism sites have been shut down in Myanmar since late March due to the global pandemic. Every business that has to depend on tourism destinations is experiencing losses in their incomes as there are no visitors in the areas. The COVID-19 outbreak has affected tourism businesses in this season for both local and foreign visitors. With no locally transmitted COVID-19 patients, the government has relaxed some restrictions, the ban on gathering not more than 15 persons, the reopening of public places like restaurants, supermarkets, parks, and some schools and pagodas. People seem to start to be familiar with the new normal lifestyle by following the health guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. The reopening of the local tourism sites are also in operation to recover this tourism industry with local travelers by relaxing some restrictions. Domestic tourism seems to be in a good condition with slowly increasing travelers from all around the country. Social distancing plans and other health guidelines are applied to reopen sites, and that way local travelers can make visit to places with safety and pleasure. The likes of popular tourism destinations for local travelers are the same as foreign travelers. For example, pilgrimage sites, beach resorts, and mountains. The designated ecotourism sites are most likely to be visited by local travelers. Among them, Bagan, which is remarked as the World Heritage Site by UNESCO, is the most popular between local and foreign travelers. Some pagodas in that region are still under closure, but with a plan to open as soon as they get the permission for the reopening. U Oma, Secretary 2 of Pagoda Board of Trustees of Thilo Minlo Buddhist Temple in Bagan, said,
This is the tour season for foreign or local visitors. Because of the COVID-19 outbreak, there are completely no foreign visitors except a few local visitors. Although the visitors only have to worship outside due to the closure of the pagodas, there are still a few visitors here. We have planned 3 feet distancing, hand sanitizers, and hand wash basins at the entrance for the pilgrims. We also ask for each visitor's name and contact and also have temperature of the visitors measured. Many residents in this area that have to depend on the tourism are affected by the COVID-19.
There are all around 1,600 hotels reopening along with the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports. Hotels have to face difficulties with few local travelers because their income is much lower than the general expenses and costs for employees. Ji So-han, the owner of Myanmar Hen Hotel, said,
Our hotel was founded in 2017, which is built mainly for foreigners' interests. Due to COVID-19 outbreak, our hotels had to close starting from March and then mid-July. It was back in operation again. For the visitors' safety, we allow social distancing, like covering receptions with plastic sheets, and we try to make sure to have less interaction between staffs and customers. There are altogether more than 3,000 pagodas in Bagan, and some popular pagodas area have been restricted to allow visitors along with social distancing guidelines. I think it's also a good sign as a visitor can visit the rest less popular pagodas too.
Travelers would like to travel Bagan during winter season and have little interest during summertime because of the high temperature. Kandasin, the traveler from Yangon region, said,
This is my 4th time visiting here. I feel blessed and enlightened whenever I see the pagodas in Bagan. That's why I visit here many times. We have 4 consecutive holidays, so I came here. Even though I heard the news that the pagodas are closed, it couldn't stop me to visit here as I have decided to travel no matter what.
That's a report on domestic tourism seen with a gradual increase of travelers in some parts of Bagan. The annual YSX Expo 2020 is going to be held on the 12th and 13th of September. The YSX Expo 2020 will feature digital exhibitions, There will also be online seminars and online workshops for finance and economic experts. Pyu Ritu has more.
The annual YSX Expo 2020 is going to be held on 12 and 13 September. And the detailed information for YSX Expo 2020 is going to be shared gradually for our website and social media platform of YSX, and so those who want to attend can pre-register, according to Uttaton U, Senior Executive Manager of Yangon Stock Exchange. He shared about the YSX Expo 2020 with Emma Radio.
Yangon Stock Expo
This is the fourth year that the Yangon Stock Exchange Expo has been held annually. The COVID-19 incident occurred while preparing for this year's YSX Expo 2020. Therefore, this year YSX Expo 2020 will not be held on a grand scale, just like those in previous years, but will be held digitally through online platform. The YSX Expo 2020 will feature digital exhibitions. There will also be online seminars and online workshops for finance and economic experts. The investors from all over the country who want to open the account at Yangon Stock Exchange will be able to process via online.
Yangon Stock Exchange YSX as a stock exchange is a venue to provide opportunity for investors to buy or sell listed companies' shares. Investors have to send their buying or selling orders to YSX through securities companies having securities license issue SECM, as well as trading qualification provided by YSX. Speaking to Emma Radio, Uttaton U, Senior Executive Manager of YSX, will tell us more about the summary of stocks exchanged during the month of July.
In July, the total of 6 listed companies traded for 12,522 shares and 1.06 billion kyats worth of trades were reached. About 48 million kyats worth of trades were made daily in July, and in the stock indicator Myanpix, it indicates the stock trade point as 448 points. It decreases about 14% compared to June. The COVID-19 crisis still impacts on the stock markets all over the world, and the relationship between USA and China also affects to the stock market investors. As a result, the world gold price rose to a record high in July, and so did the gold price of Myanmar. At present, the USD is depreciating and the least to chat. The Myanmar currency strengthened more. So, for the investors, it is better to hold Myanmar currency instead of making other investments this time. Currently, not only the stock market but also the other markets are also facing cold trading.
Uttaton U also mentioned that there are more companies to add to Yangon Stock Exchange. The YSX is conducting the exception for ensuring these companies get listed as soon as possible. For 2020, YSX will continue to struggle with existing companies and new entrant companies. He also said that the investor can be on the lookout for the announcements of the new entrants soon. The YSX-based training course is running via online, and the course was over last week, and the batch 2 of it will open weekly at the end of August, according to Uttaton U.
That's a report on YSX Expo 2020 to be held in September. Hong Kong has been hit by COVID-19, which is reported as the third wave infection, and National Health Commission from Beijing has sent nucleic acid test technicians to Hong Kong for the aid to contain the virus soon. And Hong Kong has also opened its first temporary COVID-19 hospital. Williamson has a full report.
Hong Kong Special Administrative Regions has opened its first temporary hospital for COVID-19 patients, and this hospital started to operate on last Saturday, receiving the first group of patients, more than 20 patients according to the report by CGTN. This is located in the venue housing the Asia World Expo, and it will mainly treat the coronavirus patients aged between 18 to 60, and this hospital is 500-bedded facility providing 24 hours medical services, lung x-ray, and blood tests. Medical experts said this temporary hospital is designed to receive patients with mild symptoms and confirm patients waiting to be hospitalized. This hospital is equipped with ultraviolet disinfection facility and changing rooms besides self-service stations for patients to sanitize themselves and check their health status by measuring blood pressure, blood oxygen, and other parameters. It is designed to relieve pressure on the city public health system as the coronavirus crisis deepens. Infected adult patients who are displaying the mild symptoms will be treated at the complex, while more severe cases will be sent to public hospitals.
Masu Tamhu.
China Media Group Myanmar Department explained more on this, and she said,
Letloma Rodi Hong Kong nuclear acid Taitwa Semurio, Shin Home, Mian Nepulopo, Beijing, Kuni Muri Sabi or Pinevi, a Guso Edi, Muda Jamai Commissiani, Hong Kong nuclear acid, the Taitwa Semuri, Pulo Nimo, Kuni Taupan, Perio, Silo Tara Tuyare, the Jama Jamai Piashin to Alebono, the Beijing, Kusa Yoga, Kawe, Tinto Ponson, a 2 Ubio, Hong Kong Yoga, Taita Sesemuri, a pa, when the Yoga Shapway, Nekutai, Longas in sample, Titan Haraule, Tuyare, Hong Kong Yeti, COVID-19 Kusa Camo, Tongtayame, Soido, the Hong Kong Ma, COVID Kusamubono, Tatia line, Satin, B, Loop, Yolo Yabare, Kusa Canaduri, the need the Chadi, Nyapia Lare, the Hong Kong Ye, Leshi Kusa Yoga, Gawe, Tincho Ye, Shin Abono, the Paris Pian Pomo, Shinte, Niemo, Luni, Bilule, Piojamare, Dio, Taitwa Sesimu, Doterare, Lopo, Ludalo, Kusa Canadu, Bono, Ni time sibo, social distance or danger so a line up, gentle bono, Saturday long and sinu, lopo, low anybody.
Some experts also warn that finding the infected patients through testing is the first step in eliminating the virus. The National Health Commission has sent a team of nucleic acid test technicians to Hong Kong as soon as the Hong Kong saw a rising number of infected cases as the third wave. Although Hong Kong is close to mainland China, it was able to keep its people safer from the virus initially, and it did not take extreme steps to control the virus, such as total lockdown, which many countries did. But now it has been hit by the third wave of the infections, and the government has warned its hospital system that the situation may get worse, and there have been record number of new infections in a day.
That's the report on Hong Kong Special Administrative Region opening its first COVID-19 temporary hospital. Now to international news. China firmly opposes the U.S. government's move to remove Chinese apps from digital networks. Wang Wenbin, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA, told a daily press briefing on Thursday. One made the remarks as the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday announced plans to expand its so-called clean network and urged American companies to bar untrusted Chinese apps from their app stores, including WeChat. Wang said the United States' claim has no factual basis and went against the market principles. The decision is to protect its monopoly in the high-tech field.
An intensified effort against China. Not long after its plans to ban TikTok, the U.S. announced an expansion of its Clean Network campaign targeting Chinese tech companies.
With parent companies based in China, apps like TikTok, WeChat, and others are significant threats to personal data of American citizens, not to mention tools for CCP content censorship.
The campaign focuses on 5 critical areas in telecommunications and technology infrastructure, from clean apps to clean cloud, and it aims to prevent Chinese apps and telecom firms from accessing information on U.S. individuals and businesses. China hit back, saying many Chinese companies unilaterally sanctioned by the U.S. are innocent. It insists those products and services are safe.
U.S. politicians keep using the excuse of protecting national security
and abusing the country's power to curb Chinese high-tech companies. China firmly opposes this. The action done by the US have no factual basis, and they're smear and political manipulation.
Pompeo gave few details on how the efforts will be carried out. But according to the US State Department, more than 30 countries and territories have joined the campaign. The Trump administration is set on countering the reach of Chinese-made technology in the US. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi described the actions by Washington as a textbook case of bullying.
US politicians keep using the excuse of protecting national security and abusing the country's power to curb Chinese high-tech companies. China firmly opposes this. The action done by the US have no factual basis, and they're smear and political manipulation.
The US government has already been cracking down on Chinese technology companies. It has long singled out telecom equipment provider Huawei, encouraging allies not to use its equipment in their 5G networks. As the new science and technology revolution is picking up speed, China said it hopes that the US will give up its obsession with its narrow self-interest and return to the right track of openness and cooperation. Wang Xiwei, CGTN.
French President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday announced that his country would organize an international aid conference for Lebanon following the deadly explosions that rocked the port of Beirut on Tuesday, killing at least 137 and injuring over 5,000 others. Macron made the remarks in Beirut as he traveled to Lebanon in a show of solidarity. Speaking to journalists, the French leader said the aid conference would be held in the coming days. He added that the funds raised from the conference would be challenged directly to the people and relief organizations working on the ground. Indian influencers are struggling to re-establish themselves after the government banned about 100 Chinese apps from operating in the country. New app companies are trying to attract influencers to their platforms with the lucrative deals, but worrying experts say the businesses are facing a long road to recovery.
Paras Tomar, आप मुझे जानते हैं as an actor.
Paras Tomar, a journalist turned social media influencer, now has his own beauty and skincare brand. His entrepreneurial journey into the world of beauty began with short videos on social media platform TikTok. After TikTok was banned in India in June, influencers like Tomar, with over 3 million followers, are being chased by Indian apps that aspire to fill in the void.
So for a whole bunch of us, what actually happened is earlier we would probably get paid to do certain kind of videos for brands. But I think the way it suddenly shifted is that a lot of these platforms now want you to make whatever videos you want, but they want you to make sure that you upload at least 30-40 videos in a month. So from just the perspective of that value for some people, where they're being approached not by brands now, but by platforms, this is a great change.
India has banned more than 100 Chinese apps in the last 2 months, citing a threat to the country's sovereignty and security. Since then, Made in India apps are gaining momentum as the youth are addicted to short video format. The Indian app companies are luring content creators with enticing offers, but failing to provide an experience equivalent to TikTok.
For these Indian applications, they're not enjoying the experience. They're not happy with what the content quality they have to offer, because almost everyone is using all these applications. But because all of them are expecting a payout from them, so I don't think it's feasible to keep doing this.
Experts say India has a long way to go to build an app ecosystem.
Nationalistic kind of sentiment that this ban has created may lead to a lot of such users of TikTok and other platforms to get onto the native apps also. But the functionality of the apps and the popularity of these apps will certainly decide how long they are going to stick to the platform.
According to some calculations, the top 100 influencers have suffered a loss of 1,200 million rupees due to the ban. Ravinder Bava, CGTN, Delhi.
Vote counting is underway in Sri Lanka's parliamentary election. Nearly 70% of the eligible voters cast their ballots on Wednesday to choose 225 lawmakers. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa party is expected to win. He is hoping to install his older brother and former president Mahinda Rajapaksa as prime minister. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching.